seems to be just consuming your mind. You walk away from a situation or a meeting or a conversation, and it seems to be on replay in your mind. And then slowly it takes over your thoughts and then your very being for a while. Like you just find yourself starting to question the things that you said as you're replaying back the conversation. You find yourself all of a sudden unsure of yourself. So it starts to disrupt and dismantle your confidence or the things that you thought you knew. And before you know it, you don't know anything at all. And that is the detriment of paranoia. And it can creep in and it can stay way too long. And the thing about paranoia is that there's no real value in it, yet it exists a lot in our minds, taking up space. And the thing about this whole series with Behind the Curtain, the things that we've been speaking to, they are things that take up space that don't offer any value. They don't add any value to your life. They don't fuel or encourage healthy relationships with yourself and with others. And so what we're seeking to do here is kick them out and replace them with good things. And what's the antidote to paranoia? It's trust. And that's what we're going to talk about. So maybe lately, or as you look back at some points in your life, you find yourself just reading into every conversation or every word that someone said or a phrase that they said to you or a look that you thought they gave you, overanalyzing things to the point of exhaustion. And before you know it, it's just dominated your thoughts. And it's kind of like a monster under the bed thing, right? With a kid, like that allows this situation to become inflated in your mind and you can't see clearly because it's inflated. And so before you know it, you've jumped from assumption to conclusion and you've misunderstood a person or a situation completely. Paranoia is a master of distortion. And there may be valid reasons for the fear or lack of trust or suspicion, right? So I want to speak to that. So sometimes there is discernment in a situation where maybe you are reading the room correctly. Maybe there is a dynamic or something that's coming up against you or something that somebody's struggling with that you're feeling or sensing. That could be a very real thing. But when we allow it to fester or hang out in our minds and circle around like a loop in our thoughts, that's when it turns into paranoia. So, and that's what happens when we don't accurately catch the thought or pay attention to our intake and process it and get back into clear alignment with ourselves, right? Because if we're not taking the time to do that, then it can translate into an unhealthy pattern. And that can twist your lens on how you're viewing the world in front of you, the people around you, new situations or dynamics, because you're seeing them through an old lens. So what we need to do with this paranoia when it shows up is give it the abrupt stop. And I just like all I could see, just picture a big red stop sign and it's right in front of your car and you can't move until you change the channel in your mind. So that's what we want to do here with paranoia. So I want you to take it back to a time or times in your life where you might have felt blindsided. Because blindsided, if we felt blindsided in the past, that could be a potential root of paranoia hanging out in our current situation. So if you felt like at any point in time, and I guarantee you did, because every one of us have experienced this, you got a 1-2 punch. Like you didn't see something coming and it totally hit you. And maybe you were devastated. Maybe you were upset by it. You know, maybe it happened in second grade. Maybe then again in high school. Maybe then again in your adult life. So you got these 1-2 punches lined up, right? And you didn't realize that something was happening until it happened to you. And that can cause paranoia to amplify itself when similar situations or dynamics happen to you now. And so I want you to remind yourself today, because you've probably thought about it and maybe you've even processed through it and and you've healed some of the way. But I think really what it's time for is that full healing and just repatterning of your mind. And so it's okay to remind yourself that this is not that it's a new day. And while this may bring up a previous response, what you get to do now is react differently. And that's so great. There's such freedom in that. So know that if you're feeling overwhelmed just by hearing me talk about the first part of this message, paranoia, we're not staying there. We're moving on today. We're putting that behind because this is not that. It's a new day and you get to react differently. You get to choose a new response. You get to stop your train of thought abruptly when you feel paranoia entering it. And so while pieces of a dynamic or a scenario may mirror what you've experienced, I want you to separate this out. Ask yourself how this is different. And if it's not, you get to make some changes, whether it's drawing boundaries, if it's a similar pattern coming up again, or if it's just changing your pattern of thought and how you respond. So turn your rational brain on, flip the switch, get out of the triggered fight or flight response and change your scenery. Go take a walk. Whatever you need to do to clear your mind, change your scenery because you got to disrupt yourself to get that stop sign in front of you so that you can change your thought pattern until you get clear-minded to think about it logically. So ask yourself, what is the root of my paranoid response? So maybe you're having situations just come up in your mind and you can recognize those even as we're listening to this together. You can stop yourself in your tracks, right? You can ask, where's this from? Where have I seen it before in my life? Listen to that still small voice as you hear what you need to know about those moments. What is it that you need to know about those moments as you go back to those memories as who you are now, right? Because you're different. You have grown. And so what would you tell yourself from those moments, right? That you need to know, and then choose a new response because you've identified the paranoia loop and show up differently this time. And so as we wrap up every episode, we're going to do so with a declaration. And that declaration goes like this. I will not allow previous situations to dictate my path forward. I'm going to recognize the root of this paranoia and choose a different response. I won't allow previous dynamics to influence my current situation. In parallel, I'll also see what is in front of me clearly and make any changes that I need to make. What if the outcome this time is good? What if it's good? And so when you learn to get out of the paranoia loop, you learn to trust yourself. And you learn to trust that you're going to choose your response this time, and it's going to be different from the past, right? Breaking the cycle, because we want to break chains, we want to break previous cycles and respond differently in this new day. So as always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, thoughts. Head to www.storywork.co for more, and we'll talk to you soon.